Becca.
We're here with Puppers Corner, so we're starting a new season. Yay!
Yay!
So this is the third season of our podcast. Season 1 was a little bit of a train wreck, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm excited about this series because we're going to go through all the different categories of dog food, kind of give you the positives and negatives of each one so you can make an informed decision, the best decision you can with price, time commitment, and all those factors that play into that decision. And kind of getting back to my roots of why I even started this podcast, I was researching for my dog with anxiety and itchy skin, and I was like, I read 3 books. I was subscribed to like 5 blogs, and I was listening to hours upon hours of podcasts while I walked my dog, and I'm like, how many people are actually going to spend that much time doing that? Probably not very many. But so I thought, what if I read all this information and just condensed that information down into a 15-minute podcast twice a month? So that's how this kind of baby got born. So I want to kind of get back to the roots of that. And we're going to kind of go through the different types of dog food and condense that information down. Because you can kind of relate. I sent you guys like
yes,
a lot of information.
A lot.
I read all that. Did you guys read some of it?
Listen, I caught up, but the 25th through the 27th, I'm not caught up.
Yeah,
I did not read all of it.
I probably sent you guys 20 articles?
Yes, at least.
So we're going to condense that into about 15 minutes here.
Yeah, exciting.
So let's get started. So if you remember last episode, we get into fear mentality when we're kind of like afraid to venture out with our nutrition for our dogs because are they getting all the nutrients they need? We worry about that. So we're going to give you as much information as possible so you can make sure the dogs have proper nutrition and live a long, healthy life.
Woo.
So our first one is kibble. So first off, I want to say I scoured the internet. I read some books trying to find as much positive information about kibble as I possibly could, and it was very, very difficult. I'll start out front. And I want to be upfront about that. I do not feed kibble. Does anybody here?
Yes.
You guys both do, right?
I do currently, yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk next episode. We're going to go through kind of how it's made, some of the pros and cons of kibble today, and then next episode we're going to get into a little detail on how to read a label and make sure the first few ingredients, what they should be, so you can get a little bit higher quality kibble. But what's interesting is some of the price points on some of the really high quality kibble is not that much different than human grade buying, Anyway, we'll get into that. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So first off, the dog food industry is a $25 billion industry.
Oh my goodness.
Which blew my mind that much. And a large percentage of that is kibble. And we'll get into the reasons why that is. And when you get into the pros, it's convenient. It's the most convenient.
Yes.
Like, for example, I make homemade food. Well, I have to buy the food in the grocery store, bring it home, cook it. Gently cook it, and some of it's raw, and then mix it all together, put it in containers, put it in the freezer, take it out. I take it out once a day and thaw it out.
And you do it often. It's not like you can.
I have to make a batch every 5 days, but I have 4 dogs, and 2 of them are very large. So, but nonetheless, there's a time factor involved with that. So if you're a busy bee and don't have a lot of time, you might go commercial raw, but we'll talk about that. But it is very convenient. That is in my opinion, that's probably why it's the most prevalent dog food, because it's easy, right?
Yeah,
it's easy, and it's stored. It stores for a long time.
Now I read an article. I don't know if you got. I may not have sent it to you, but. A holistic vet that I subscribe to their blog because of fat rancidity. She says It's like the fats in the dog food. Once it's exposed to air, it'll start going rancid,
Okay.
even in kibble. So her recommendation is, except for a few servings that you have out to feed them, you should store it in the freezer.
In the freezer?
How do you what?
Yeah, I was kind of like, well, okay. She says that fats even in the kibble will go rancid and it'll go bad, essentially, the fat, if it's exposed to air for too long. So if you...
Could you like not have it in the freezer, but have it in like a container?
Airtight container, she says, is the next best thing.
Okay.
But she says once that's empty, let it empty completely and not buy more than a week at a time's worth of dog food, which is kind of a pain.
Yeah.
It takes out a little bit of the convenience factor.
Yeah, exactly. So that's her recommendation. So take it for what that is. The other pro of having kibble is the price.
Mm-hmm.
But in the articles I've read, the ones that are the lower priced may use rendered feed grade protein sources. You know what rendered means, right?
Is that like roadkill?
Yeah, it could be. Or they could get there from like China, like
just whatever they can
shipped over
get.
on like
the leftovers.
Super low quality. And then like just any part of the animal. It doesn't necessarily have to be the muscle.
Mm.
Yuck. Anyway, so just picture that.
Liver.
Yeah. So the price is, and honestly, for a lot of people, the price is a factor in that.
Yeah.
And the other pro is it has to be balanced by federal standards, but and one of the negatives, it's very highly processed and cooked at high temperature, and it basically nukes all the nutrients, and then they just spray it with vitamins and minerals, artificial vitamins and minerals after it's dried. So how much is your puppy going to absorb of that nutrients?
Not a lot.
Yeah. So
not if any.
Essentially, that's the positives.
Oh.
So now the negatives. Okay.
Oh.
So especially for the lower quality ones, they buy in bulk, and they don't always buy the greatest quality of grains. Some of the lower quality grains, mycotoxins are a problem with that.
Okay.
Have you heard that term before?
I have not.
Okay. So apparently I hadn't either until I got into this. So it's in the lower quality grains, the mycotoxins is some kind of microbe that grows in that and is cancer causing.
Oh.
So on the lower quality grains, and that they buy it in, I don't know, silos of it, because the larger food companies make batches in, house-sized bins, so.
Yeah. See, and which also makes me wonder, okay, so she says that we should keep our dog food in the freezer.
Yeah,
or in a container for like a month.
I read that article.
Yeah. Well, how are these people, like I think that's great. But isn't it kind of like gross if you start thinking about it? This dog food, before it ever got bagged, probably sat in a long time before it was put into a bag. And then those bags sit for a very long time.
I don't know. No,
sometimes those bags have holes in them.
No, that like, yeah. So she says if it's exposed to air, she says in that one of the articles I read from her, make sure that the bag when you buy in your dog food,
there's no holes and all that stuff.
The package is, and look at the date. You want as fresh as you possibly can get. Yeah, all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's next step.
We're
going to talk all about that. Yeah.
Okay.
The next negative is moisture content. So it's around 10%. Ideal for digestion for your dog is like 60% moisture content.
So they're not even digesting any of it.
Well, they're digesting it, but it's not
very hard
ideal.
on their body.
Yeah, it's not ideal for the digestive tract. Make sure if you are feeding kibble, they have plenty of access, several different bowls of water, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Why
Fresh,
mine are always constantly, that's what they want is water.
Yeah, that's why.
Because they're eating crackers all day.
Basically.
Sorry.
Like they're drinking water so fast that it they spit it back up because but they go back and drink more.
Innately, they know they need lots of water and make sure they have plenty of access to it. But I noticed, just an FYI, except when I walk them or they're played outside, I hardly ever see my dogs drink, but their food is 70% moisture.
Yeah.
So anyway, they get plaque on their teeth. That's another con. This is a common misconception. If you're Googling around, you'll notice that one of the benefits they list is it's good for the dog's teeth. In my experience, I experienced just exactly the opposite. When my dogs were on kibble, I had tons of problems with plaque and tartar on their teeth. And now that I feed raw, their teeth look fabulous. So, and there's an article from Dr. Karen Becker that talks about that's one of the major myths of kibble, that the consistency of it helps scrub the tartar off. It actually is high in carbs, and it promotes tartar growth.
That makes sense.
It's highly processed. Mm-hmm. That's another con. So let me just kind of real quickly go through the kibble making process. So particularly the larger companies, they bring it in on either freight trains, all the raw ingredients, like the protein sources on big freight cars on rails or trucks in big old batches. And the main materials are the meat, the fat, the grains, and then synthetic raw vitamins and minerals. Those are the main components. So then they grind all the raw materials as a dry product. So they grind it down into basically essentially a powder.
A powder?
Yes.
Oh, is it all dry?
Yes. Ew. At this point it is. I blend them all together in the appropriate recipe, and as big as batches as large as 2,000 pounds.
Whoa.
Then they mix the dry ingredients with the appropriate wet ingredients to make like this paste.
Ew.
And then they mix it real well and then put it in what's called an extruder, spins it and pushes it through to make the little chunks. And they use a die, so sometimes they make cute little shapes.
You make them with color.
Yeah, and then they put if it has any color in it, don't buy that dog food. It has dye in it.
Okay.
Yeah, just FYI.
Okay.
Many of them are cooked at high heat, so it basically nukes all the nutrition out of it right off the bat, and then they enrobe it.
What does that mean?
They spray liquid or powder on the outside of the little kibble that has the vitamins and the fat on it.
That's why they're powdery. The little pellets
can be, or it's got kind of like a slick feeling on them sometimes.
Gross.
So I got this article from Dog Food Insider. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's the process. So it's really highly processed. So in theory and in my way of thinking, more processing leads the less nutrients.
Because it kills all the nutrients.
Yeah. So that's my opinion. I mean, everybody has different opinions, but anyway.
So gross.
Another con is it's fortified nutrition, meaning it's synthetic vitamins they put in that after the fact, and it's kind of like
so
cereal.
What can they even absorb?
Like cereal for kids, breakfast cereal, all those,
Lucky Charms.
Yeah, all those. They highly process that grain product, and then they add in the vitamins after the fact, to make it. You read the label, it says, it has vitamin B6 and niacin and all this. That's all artificially put in that.
That's what they do with our milk.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because some friends of ours are dairy people, and they
mold contamination is a possibility as well.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful of that. So if it gets wet at all, it's going to grow mold. So really quickly.
Yep.
And there was a research article, and you'll have all these sources that it increases metabolic stress. Are you familiar with that term?
No.
Metabolic stress is inflammation.
Okay. So, that makes sense. That makes sense. All the bloating.
So they did a research article on kibble food versus raw food, and the metabolic stress was higher in the kibble, just from the research article they did, and it was in Europe. So I'll have the link for that for you guys to look at. And then the last con that I have listed here is possibility for the fat to go rancid. And we mentioned that a little bit earlier, that to avoid that, you could put it in the freezer, So anyway, those are kind of the highlights of what I've researched. All the articles will be on, and that's just another point is I'm going to start adding a lot of this information for you to refer back to on the blog. So it would be good to subscribe to the blog. Simple as going to pupperscornerpodcast.com. On the right-hand side, there'll be a little place for you to subscribe to the blog. And so twice a month, we'll post all that information that we went through and in more detail. So you can, if you're interested in this and learning more, you can dig into that. And so each time we post a new article, you'll get an email.
Oh, I like that.
So yeah, we'll get the blog. I'm going to be posting religiously to the blog. I haven't in the past, but I'm going to start because we're going over a little more detailed information, but we're hitting the highlights on the podcast. So if you want more information about what we learned and all the processes, how kibble's made and all that, subscribe to the blog. So that's all I had as far as like the pros and cons. Next week, we're going to get into how to pick out kibble if you decide that's the route you're going to go, how to pick out a good one. So
okay, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what's we're done with the kibble information. So now we get to find out what's been going on with the pups. So who wants to start? I can start if anybody.
Okay. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
So we've had fun this last couple of weeks. So we have 4 dogs, 2 beagles, 2 labs, and one lab is like notoriously hard to walk. So and my wife in the past has not been on this dog walking thing. So here lately, I went to Canada for 2 weeks, so she had to walk them all by herself, and she decided she likes it. So now it's almost like our date time.
Aww. We
put the kids to bed at 6:45. The younger kids, the older ones, they're on their own, so they don't matter. But the younger ones get put in bed. Our 19-year-old's home now, so he watches and makes sure they stay in bed, basically, while we walk the dogs. So we've been doing that. So sometimes I take the hard one, and she has the other 3, and then we'll switch. Because she's more stubborn than me, so she won't let the stubborn dog, she won't put up with anything. So it's been working out. She's been doing better. But anyway, we were walking them the other night, and our Jackson, our lab, he's 90 pounds, but he's like a big scaredy cat. He's sniffing around, and like a little butterfly or something jumped up out of the grass, and he jumped like literally a foot off the ground.
Oh my goodness.
Backwards, and was like, what's going on? And then later on, the 2 beagles saw this, like a little statue of a weenie dog, and they wanted to rip into it. So they're like pulling, trying to get to this weenie dog, and they're barking. So it's, it's kind of a pain to walk your dogs every day, but when you get into it and get into a routine, you really get to enjoy your dogs a lot more because you get out together and you get to do stuff together.
And you get to see their cute
they treat a squirrel, and they went ballistic. And so now, like about 4 days ago, and now every time we go by that tree, they have to stop and they have to look and they have to make sure that squirrel's not there. So,
that is so cute.
And then we got a complaint from our neighbor about the noise from the beagles.
Because they are loud.
Yeah, so they bay. And you can, like,
would you like to tell us what that sounds like?
Oh.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But they do it much better than me. But and it's, I can't describe it. It's not like a high pitch, but it's not like you can hear it.
It's
from
big.
And it's loud.
Yeah.
And like if when we're in the living room and they do it, we make them stop because it actually can hurt your ear.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my gosh, it's loud. So anyway, we got them to try to stop doing that all the time. It doesn't bother me because I think it's kind of cute when I hear it. But apparently our neighbors don't think it's so cute. So we're working on that. We're trying to get it. But it's actually been fun because like when we let them outside, if we're home, then I'll go do my thing. But now we kind of spending more time outside with them to get them to not bark all the time.
Yeah.
So we've been noticing, like, since that they complained, we've been spending more time with the dogs.
Yeah.
So. At first, like the first 10, 15 minutes, I was kind of like, well, you have 3 dogs that bark all the time too. And I was kind of like, kind of mad, But then I got thinking, this may be a good thing. Maybe I get to spend more time with them.
Which is awesome.
So we take turns going outside and playing with them. So everybody's spending more time with the dogs. So I'm going to say it's a good thing.
All around, I feel like they're going to be better loved.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with my dogs. How about you?
Well, Daisy, we got a couple things, good and bad. Okay, so let's start with the not
good.
so awesome. Okay, okay. Well, I like to. Okay.
End on the good. You like to end on the good?
I do.
Okay, so tell me.
Okay, so the not so awesome stuff. I'm pretty sure she has separation anxiety, but from me, not from like my family or not just being alone. I think it is for me.
And she's a border collie, so they tend to gravitate to one person. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think I'm that person.
You're the alpha.
Every time I leave, like my mom, her grandma will be there all day with my boys and with her, and then like Tuesday she was gone for like an hour. Daisy had the opportunity to go potty all day, and she would go in and out, and she was alone for an hour, and I got home and she had pooped twice. And she was sorry about it, you could tell, but she keeps doing this, and it's whenever she's alone, but I feel like it's when I'm not there.
Right. You've noticed a pattern there. Like
yeah. So it's not cool. So
and you're not leaving for that long and that many days.
No,
right?
It's 2 days a week, guys.
and then, like, just a little history, you used to leave her before and no problem.
Yeah, I used to leave her like all week, no problem. And then, there's no problem. I don't get it. I don't really know what's going on other than...
And there's been some family changes. You had another baby.
I had another baby, and she loves that baby.
Right.
And she hasn't acted jealous, but, there might be a little bit of that there. She isn't
just
getting
naturally,
as much.
naturally not getting as much attention.
Yeah, but like bedtime is like our for real one-on-one time because she gets all the love and all the cuddles, and me and my husband just like waller all over her, and she gets all the good stuff. But I guess she's just not getting enough during the day. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So I got to deal with that.
Yeah, I may not have an answer for you because I haven't experienced that.
Yeah.
Because our situation is a little different in that there's very rarely a time when there's nobody at home. So.
Yeah.
And I am the alpha. They follow me around when I'm there, but it's like when I'm gone, it's not like
that big of a deal. But they have each other.
Yes, they do.
Daisy does not.
We have 4 dogs, so
Daisy has a cat. That wants nothing to do with it 90% of the time.
No, I'm joking. For you cat lovers out there.
I love cats.
Yes, cats.
No, not a big fan. Sorry, guys.
But the fun, happy thing, I was putting my new little baby to sleep, and it was all quiet, and Daisy was asleep by the crib, and, just same normal thing we do every night. And then my husband got home from class, and he was being all quiet when he came inside, and Daisy, when a puppy's excited, their whole body just makes so much noise on the floor. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what was happening. And so we were trying to get her to be quiet. So I be quiet, Daisy, shh, and like all that whispering so we wouldn't wake Levi up. And normally you can just tell her to go to bed and she'll go hop in her bed. So we're like, go to bed. And we said it really quiet. She looked at us like we were crazy and then hopped in Levi's bed. Like, you really want me in there? Okay. And she just hopped up into the crib. It's quite a ways off the ground, and it was pretty impressive. And we were laughing so hard we woke the baby up. So.
I know this is like, haha, when would I find the time? But, we talked about getting that do-it-yourself little agility thing.
Yes.
Maybe that time together training on that would
help with all of that. Maybe. I know, like the other day with Eli's treehouse, we kept going up and down, and but
and maybe now that it's getting cooler, you could just put together something simple, little ramps and stuff. And
I think the poles would be fun to do first. It's like picture like where you put bikes at, like that. Yeah, but they weave in and out.
Yeah, they weave in and through it. Yeah,
but it's flexible.
Yeah, I think she would. I think it'd be easy. Fun with that. Mm-hmm. Like you would spend time together, maybe the kids too, and I don't know, just throwing ideas out.
I think it'd be fun. That's my next
goal.
That'd
be cute.
And I've seen some on. Okay, I'm going to lose my man card over this. I saw something on Pinterest.
Well, it makes sense Pinterest.
Okay.
No. Pinterest is for men and women.
Yeah.
Because, they have, how to make fire pits and stuff on there. So, anyway.
Which a woman will want to make a fire pit, too.
Yeah, that's true. You use just, the PVC you can get at the hardware store and just
then,
put it together.
In wood, and boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, the little connections, the little 90-degree connections, and just stick it together. And you could... The ones I saw, they just fold down and stack them, and then you just open them up when you want to use them. And
see, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Easy to, move around.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. Anyway, what are your little Baloo and Ginger up to? You said she's doing better about going out now since you switched.
So there's a big green belt that separates one side of the apartment complex from the other side of the apartment complex. And finally, I was like, I've tried walking them up and down 4 or 5 times. This one side, because it's closest to my building, which is just convenient for me. But and they won't. She wants nothing to do with it. So I decided, we'll just go on the other side this time and see how it goes. I have no problems from her, no issues from her. But Baloo doesn't like that side. And so he gets all bent, his nose bent out of shape. And then he doesn't want to go on the normal side. He gets mad and he just upset that I've changed up his routine and now he's doing it.
Little personalities.
They've switched places where she was not wanting to go, won't go, and would go inside, and now he's doing it.
That sucks.
I have none of those issues.
And I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know either. And there's just there's so many more dogs at this complex than my last one.
Okay.
So I'm thinking
smells.
There's so many smells. I'm thinking that has a lot to do with it. And now that it's getting cool, a little bit cooler, at least in the evening times now, that there's so many more people outside.
Yeah. Stage fright or something, I guess, maybe. Yeah,
something. And I don't know. And he's more interested in hunting for bunnies than he is
doing his business.
He's the size of a bunny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and what would he do if he caught one? But that's what he wants to do when he's outside. He doesn't want anything to do with going potty.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
it's not a fun time.
So, we had a Westie at one point where if you weren't outside with them, they wouldn't go. So you can just, now, I just go out there and do your thing. But the downside of that is you can train them to go in one spot. Well, mine it's all over the place. And we pick ours up every day, and we have to, or it becomes... We have 4 dogs. Smaller.
That's a lot of poop.
Yeah. So, anyway, I've never had that. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I have no idea, because I never had this issue before, but they were always in a fenced yard where it was just them, and I would still go outside with them, so I was there, but they were able to roam and do their own thing and be outside forever as long as it took, or they wanted to be. And now I'm like, okay, well, I have to have you on a leash, because there's a bunch of dogs, and I know that if they saw another dog and they weren't on a leash, see ya, they would be gone. And now it's just a completely different story.
That's not going to be very much fun when it's 20 degrees outside.
When it's freezing. And because right now I don't mind walking them, other than Ginger doesn't like walking. She will pause and just wheeze. Oh, it's awful. But Baloo, if you walk as long as you want to walk, he's going to walk, and he'll be completely content with it. So if I could walk him and just let him go at his own pace, that would be fine.
Well,
but when sister...
One thing about walking them, gravity and moving gets things moving. So, I don't know.
I don't either.
Well, keep us updated.
Yeah.
Okay. Any cool, fun stuff they're doing, or cute little things they do?
Ginger ate through a sheet on my bed the other day.
They're just giving you trouble.
They're just giving me... I think she was bored because she was on top of the bed instead of underneath the bed, which is where her place is. That's where she likes to be. And Baloo had jumped off the bed, but I was in the shower. They were both still asleep.
So it wasn't like they were there a long time.
No, it's not like I left them on the bed all day. Like, I had gotten up, they were still asleep. I got in the shower, and by the time I got out of the shower and came back, there was a huge hole in my sheet.
Yeah. No. I can't even list the stuff my dogs have chewed up.
Geez. I can't count uncountable amounts of underwear that Blue has eaten.
Oh.
He digs them out of the laundry hamper.
Thief.
Yes.
That little turkey.
Yes. So
Okay.
it was just
All
about
right.
time she did it.
Well, we're about wrapped up, but just a few little news things that I thought were interesting this last 2 weeks. There was a reporter that did expo, or not an expose, but where are they now story on the 47 dogs that Michael Vick that they confiscated. You all know who Michael Vick is?
No.
Right? Okay, so he was a professional football player.
Okay.
Pretty famous. I mean, he was a good player. He had a dog fighting ring.
No.
And he went to prison, and they obviously confiscated the dogs.
Yeah.
Almost all of them were pit or pit mixes.
Oh.
It's kind of a
Stigma.
feel good story.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Some of them were adopted, some of them weren't adoptable, but they went to like a little place, like a ranch where they take dogs that aren't
friendly,
adoptable, or they not controllable or whatever, and they actually lived out their lives there and did okay. I mean, obviously they had issues, but it's actually a good read in that some of them lived out long, happy lives. Some of them had health issues from that, but it's actually, if you read through there, give you some good feelings, because some of them lived good, long lives and pulled out of it. And some of them are pretty darn cute puppies.
Oh.
Some of them are all tore up,
Yeah.
but it's sad. But
who fights dogs like that? That's sad.
I don't know. I mean, I don't get it. Why don't you just beat each other up in the
Right?
ring?
Yeah.
Leave the poor pups alone.
So
Anyway, so I was encouraged after I finished reading it. So anyway, it's like
maybe I need to read it.
Yeah.
it's got a picture and it tells where they went. Some of them went to families and happy endings and lived a good long life.
Oh, that's good.
So,
Yes.
So, and then the other one was like in Orlando, apparently. One of the shelters there, you can actually, like, if you don't own a dog, you can check one out for the day
Yeah.
and, like, take them to the park.
I love that.
It's like a max of 2 hours, and they
Yeah.
give you a backpack full of everything you need.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then they have a little vest on, apparently.
Yeah, that says adopt me.
Adopt me. I'm adoptable or something like that. And
And then they get
so
a
it's a way
discount.
for the shelter to get their dogs exposed to the public.
They are not allowed to go to a dog park
Right.
or be off leash at all, because
Right.
it is all about getting interaction with humans,
Right.
not other dogs.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And so I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I liked it.
I love that. I would wind up with too many dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Checking
You'd be
them
like,
out
if you
like
check them
that.
out and be like,
I'm not taking you back.
Yeah. I think you're
you're just coming right on home with me.
Yeah.
And then the other one was in the end, a good story.
Yeah.
But this dog, apparently, it was a border collie.
Katie, the
Sadie.
border collie. Uh-huh.
This family was vacationing, I guess, and they left the dog in the hotel.
Yeah, they were vacationing in Montana.
Yeah,
So
and then they went to some event, like a NASCAR race or something, or like a roller derby or something.
something fun.
They were gone for like 4 hours or something, and then when they come back,
But there was
the
a
dog
thunderstorm.
Okay.
And the thunder scared the dog. The dog figured out how to unlock the door and get out, because she's a border collie.
Super smart, I guess.
And she was gone for 57 days.
I got 47 here, but nonetheless. Was
47?
it 57?
I thought it was 57.
Maybe it was.
Either way, that's a long time. Over a month. Gone
And
over
so
a month.
they were semi-retired. I guess she had a job
Yeah, she
and
worked
she ended up
as a mail
quitting
lady.
to find the dog. So they
Yeah.
put out flyers and all that, but then they were just like
Comey.
living in that. They stayed in that area.
They went so far as to jog around that neighborhood to put their sweat off. They would leave their clothing in certain various places so the dog would find it and know that they were still there.
Yeah.
They would lay out her blanket and her bed in different places and move it around
He bought night vision goggles and went out at night to
find her.
Yeah.
And after all that,
Like almost 2 months later.
yeah, she was over by their hotel, but she wasn't there the whole time.
Right.
There's no way she could have been.
No.
And the hotel backed up to a whole bunch of
They would have
forest.
found her if she was there.
Yeah, but she
Yeah.
had lost 15 pounds, and she
Yeah.
was extremely dehydrated and malnourished. But She's perfectly fine and happy now.
Yeah.
And the second that she got in the car, she fell asleep.
Yeah, you got to look at the article. She's a cute
She
dog.
is a
She's
cute dog.
adorable.
Very cute.
Yeah, so all this, again, will be posted on the blog and then in the show notes on the podcast. But I think it's easier if you just subscribe to the blog. Do it, people.
Do it. Just do it.
All right, that's all I got. Anything else?
I do have a question.
Yes.
I wonder, like, we'd mentioned, like, if we had checked out a dog that we'd go straight home. I wonder what kind of information or what kind of checks they have to do on you in order to check out a dog like that.
They probably just take your name, address, and maybe a driver's license or
I don't
something.
know.
I don't think so, because if you want to adopt a dog, then, they do background checks and stuff
Yeah.
now. Sometimes they
And
make a
home
trip
checks.
to your home.
Yeah.
Really?
So if you want to adopt a dog for a day, for 2
and
hours.
I think the reason they do that is
But if
because
you're a
they're
runner-
getting a lot back. So they want to, they're being a little pickier because they don't just want that dog back 2 months later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, because just
be nice to your adopted dog, people.
Yes.
Come on.
yeah.
Well, it just
Just
makes
do
me
it.
think of, like, if they do all of that checking already, could you literally just call them and be like, I'm taking this dog home with me. This is the dog that I want to adopt.
I think maybe they just probably take the basic information and then you bring it back and then you go, oh, I really want this one. Okay, fill out this. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really great idea.
Cool.
I think they should do that everywhere.
Yeah.
Because once you take it out for a walk, you
know.
want to keep it.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of
And-
college campuses do that now where they bring in shelters that have dogs that you can come in and take care of to
they
help
can't-
relieve stress.
Oh, they have
'Cause they
at
can't have
OSU.
dogs.
They have
Mhm.
Oklahoma State University. We're in Oklahoma. I know not everybody from you listen. We're all over, but they have a, what do they call it? Pistol Pete's Paws or something.
Yes.
And you'll be walking across campus, and there'll be a dog sitting there with a handler, and you can go. And each student and it just helps them just chill out.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
You can play frisbee with them on the lawn there or whatever.
Yeah, my friend that went to school there, she actually did that. She worked with them and she got to be, I guess, a handler, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what they're called.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she loved it.
I would have done that if they did not have that when I went to college. But that was, well, I'm going to age myself. That was 26 years ago. So anyway, that's all I got.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Have a great couple of weeks, and we'll see you then. And we're going to talk about how to pick out a good kibble, what to look for on a label, and what else. That's going to take up our 15 minutes. for
It
sure.
will.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.